Kylan Boswell had some high praise for David Mirkovic and Keaton Wagler, like really high praise.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome one, welcome all to another edition of Locked On Illini. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. My name is Verma, your host here at Locked On Illini, which, by the way, I want to take a second to point out that the Locked On Podcast Network is now the number one sports podcast network in America. So congrats to Locked On. Such an honor to be here. Of course, I'm here every single day providing you Illini content. Everything you see and hear is absolutely free. Only thing I ask for in return is, if you don't mind, make sure you smash that like button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about something a little fun. Illinois, obviously, on Friday night, had a nice, convincing 113-70 victory over Florida Gulf Coast. But Kylan Boswell, who had arguably the best game on Friday, made a lot of note for what he said at the end of the game, in the post-game press conference. So after the game, Kylan Boswell and Zvonimir Ivisic were at the podium answering questions from media. And Kylan Boswell said something that really caught the attention of not just myself, but I feel like a lot of fans. See, what he said, and he looked deadpan in saying it, Keaton Wagler and David Mirkovic were the two best freshmen he has seen in a long time, which, raises some eyebrows because, of course, last year he played with Conspiracy Yakushonis and Will Riley, two guys who were not just top 15 recruits in the country, but two guys who went in the top 22 in the NBA draft. And Kylan looked really serious saying it. So it's not like it was hyperbole. To me, he gave off the tone as if it was a statement. And the more I think about it, the more I sit here and ponder those words, the more I'm starting to think that maybe he's right. We all remember the hype from last year. Conspiracy Yakushonis, Will Riley, two top 20-ish recruits in the country. You had NBA scouts sitting courtside seats for just watching college practices. KJ had a dazzling playmaking flair, threading passes, manipulating defenses, just the ability to see the floor like a 10-year pro. Riley was smooth. He was long. He was freakishly long. The kind of guy who could give you 30 points on a random Tuesday night just because he felt like it. And they delivered, both of them did, in moments. KJ averaged 15 and 5 assists, went in the first round to the Miami Heat. Riley flashed his scoring potential, went number 21, I believe, in the NBA draft. And on paper, you would think that is a massive success story. It is a massive success story. But let's be honest. There were stretches where Illinois was waiting on those two to figure it out. You saw the inconsistency. KJ struggled with physicality at times. Riley had stretches where the jumper wasn't falling, and you can tell his confidence wavered. They were pros in training, whereas Keaton Wagler and David Mirkovic, they just look like hoopers. Let's start with Keaton. He's been flat out sensational. Through 2 games, he's averaging 20 points, 6.5 boards, 3.5 assists, over 60% shooting, and he hasn't missed from 3 yet. That's not a freshman line. That's a guy who seems to be comfortable at playing at this level already. You see it in his pace. He never looks rushed. You see it in his body language. Confident, poised, leading huddles already. And remember, this is the reigning Kansas Gatorade Player of the Year. That's not just a meaningless award. That's a guy who came out of high school known for winning. They won multiple state titles, a reputation for doing everything, scoring, facilitating, rebounding, defending at a very high level. Brad Underwood called him a plug and play, and that's exactly what he's been. He can run your offense or he can space the floor. He plays with such a unselfish maturity that makes everyone around him better. And the scary part, he's only played in 2 college games. Now let's talk about David Mirkovic, because this guy's been a revelation. Back-to-back double-doubles to start his college career, 19 and 14 in his debut, 17 and 11 in the next game. You're not just talking about production, you're talking about dominance. He's strong enough to finish through contact, he's skilled enough to pass out of the post, and he's smart enough to make the right read almost every trip down the floor. You can run the offense through him, not just to him. And that's rare for a freshman big in this league. And here's what's wild. He looks unbothered. Every possession. He plays like he's been doing this for 5 years. Maybe that's just the European seasoning coming through. He's already had professional reps. He's developed tactical discipline, and he never looks like he's flustered. You can already see why Underwood trusted him to start the season and playing major minutes. He doesn't really take bad shots. He boxes out every time, and he competes defensively. He doesn't really look like a project. He looks like a problem for other teams. Now let's have an uncomfortable conversation, because last year's class set the recruiting bar. But this year's group might be setting the impact bar. Through their first 2 games, Wagler, as I mentioned, 20 points, 6.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, shooting over 60% from the field, and again, hasn't missed a 3 yet. Mirkovic is averaging 18 points and 12.5 rebounds. And again, 2 double-doubles in 2 games. Last year, through 2 games, KJ and Riley didn't touch those numbers. They showed flashes, but not this level of consistency, not this kind of maturity. The difference isn't talent, it's readiness. KJ and Riley were future pros learning to adjust to college basketball. Wagler and Mirkovic come in ready to win college basketball games. And that's what's making the difference. Underwood's offense has always been at its best when he's got smart, position versatile guys who can play in space. These two are tailor-made for that. Wagler's ability to attack off the catch, shoot off balance, and switch on defense means Illinois can stay in that 5-out look without sacrificing physicality. David gives you the same high IQ interior passing you had with Tommy Avicic, but with a little more pop and toughness on the glass. Put those two on the floor with veterans like Kylan Boswell and down the road, Andrei Stojakovic, and it's just basketball harmony. Cutting, spacing, ball movement. That's why you're seeing so much chemistry so early. They're not freelancing, they're fitting. So when Kylan Boswell, a guy who's played alongside NBA draft picks, says these are 2 of the best freshmen he's seen in a long time, that absolutely carries weight. He's not saying they're more talented than KJ or Will Riley. He's saying they're more prepared. And honestly, that might be more valuable, because Illinois doesn't need freshmen to help you in 2 years. They need freshmen who can help you win now. That's how you stay nationally relevant. That's how you reload instead of rebuild. And if Boswell's this confident in them already, that tells you something about how they practice, how they respond to coaching, and how they show up every single day. You earn a veteran's respect fast, or you don't earn it at all. And here's what's really exciting. Illinois has reached a point as a program where guys like Wagler and Mirkovic don't have to carry the team, but they could. That's what big-time programs do. They bring in freshmen who could start anywhere else, and those guys just become a part of a deep rotation that can withstand anything. It's the same thing you see at places like Kansas or at UConn. Elite depth that makes every practice a war and keeps the standards high. And for Illinois, let's be honest, this is pretty new territory. This used to be a team hoping freshmen would develop fast enough to fill gaps. Now, they're choosing between which talented freshmen to unleash. That's growth. That's the mark of a sustainable powerhouse. If these two stay healthy, and of course, that's the scary part, they could only be scratching the surface. Wagler's already showing flashes of being a 50, 40, 85 shooter with size. Mirkovic looks like a future all Big Ten forward. By January, they might not just be impressive for freshmen, they might be Illinois' most reliable players alongside Kylan Boswell and Tommy Avicic. And that's not a knock on anyone. That's just how good they've been. If you told me a month and a half ago that the freshmen this year might actually out-impact last year's NBA first rounders, I'd have laughed. Now, I'm sitting here pondering it. So yeah, Kylan Boswell might be onto something. We can call it early if we want. 2 games, small sample size, yada, yada, yada. But sometimes your eyes don't lie. These two, Wagler and Mirkovic, look like the kind of freshmen who change what's possible for a team. They don't need plays called for them. They don't need coddling. They just play winning basketball. And if they keep this up, they might not just be the best freshman Kylan Boswell has ever played with. They might go down as one of the best freshman duos Illinois ever had. You let me know your thoughts. If you had to compare the two, David and Keaton going up against KJ and Will Riley, which duo do you think is going to ultimately have a bigger impact at Illinois? The holiday season is right around the corner, and that means it's time to get your home ready. Whether you need more seating for guests, cozy new linens, or fun serveware for holiday hosting, Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to help you make your space shine. And the best part, you don't have to wait. Wayfair's Black Friday deals are happening all month long with up to 70% off everything from sofas to spatulas. I couldn't believe how fast everything ships. You're talking about just in time for the holidays. Just browsing through their site, it's easy to find pieces that actually fit any style. Nothing generic, just quality designs that feel personal. If you've ever hosted a family for holidays, you know how much difference a few new touches can make. Wayfair makes that easy. Don't miss out on early Black Friday deals. Head to wayfair.com now to shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale for up to 70% off. That's WAYFAIR.com. Sale ends December 7th. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the other Illini team that's quietly making noise in Champaign, and that's Shauna Green's crew. They're off to a 2-0 start, and Sunday's win over Illinois State told us a lot about what this season could look like for Illinois women's basketball. Final score, Illinois 75, Illinois State 65. The Illini never trailed. They led for over 38 minutes. And once again, it was their stars, Barry Wallace and Gretchen Dolan, who set the tone and sealed the deal. You know, Shauna Green said it before the season started. This is a young team. They're going to have ups and downs, nights where the freshmen look brilliant and nights where they look, well, like freshmen. And that's why she's counting on her returning stars, namely Wallace and Dolan, to steady the ship. And that's exactly what happened on Sunday. Barry Wallace, she was phenomenal. 22 points on 7 of 10 shooting, 7 rebounds, 8 of 11 from the line, and my favorite stat, 0 turnovers. That's efficiency, that's leadership, that's exactly what a sophomore cornerstone should look like. And Gretchen Dolan, she was the closer. 18 points, 5 assists, 3 steals. And when Illinois State made their run late, she was the one who buried the clutched 3 that stopped the bleeding. And if you're building program identity, that's what you want. You want veterans answering the bell when the game starts to fall. From the opening tip, Illinois came out sharp. Jasmine Brown Hagar gave them instant energy. 7 points in the first quarter, 3 of 3 from the field, helping the Illini build an early cushion. Then Wallace took over in the second. She went a perfect 4 from 4 in the quarter alone, scored 10, and pushed the halftime lead to 37-31. No drama, no panic, just calm execution. But if you watched this program long enough, you knew it wouldn't stay that easy. Illinois State made their push in the fourth, a 9-0 run that sliced the lead all the way down to 58-56. Momentum shifting, crowd tightening. It was one of those moments where young teams can fold. Instead, Illinois grew up. Dolan steps up, hits a dagger 3. Wallace powers through for a tough finish at the rim. Then freshman Letty Vasconcelos, who's still finding her footing after more than 600 days without live action, scores a key layup in the final couple minutes. The Vets close it out at the free throw line. Ball game. Wasn't a perfect performance, but it was a mature one. And that's how you win games when the offense isn't flowing perfectly. You rebound, you defend, you get to the stripe. Shauna Green basketball in a nutshell. Let's talk about the freshmen because they're going to be a huge storyline all season long. Soraya Parchment had 9 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists, but she also went just 3 for 14 from the field. That's a classic freshman box score. You see the impact, you see the effort, but you also see the growing pains. Shauna Green even said it in the postgame. This team's going to have inconsistencies, and that's fine because the raw tools are real. Parchment moves well. She battles on the glass. She's active defensively. The shot selection will tighten with experience. And Destiny Jackson, she might be one of the most underrated freshmen in the Big Ten right now. 8 points, 5 boards, 4 steals. Talk about energy player. She is everywhere. And if you're an Illini fan, those two should give you confidence that the youth movement is already making an impact, even if the numbers aren't always sparkling. The bench didn't put up big numbers, just 11 total points, but there were important moments. Maddie Weber continues to provide a spark with her shooting, 6 points in 14 minutes. And we finally got the season debut of Aliyah Guyton, the Iowa transfer. She didn't play much, just 5 minutes, but seeing her healthy and available is a positive sign. That's a player who can absolutely factor into this rotation once she finds her rhythm. And again, when you're building depth, you need these early season games to get everyone acclimated. This wasn't just about highlight reels. It was about habits. Illinois didn't play their best. They let Illinois State shoot nearly 48% from the field and 19 for 23 on layups, but they still found ways to win. That's growth. They won the dirty categories. They controlled tempo. They trusted their veterans. And that's how you start to build consistency in a young season. Because let's be honest, this group still has a lot of new pieces learning how to fit together. But when your foundation is Wallace and Dolan, you've got a floor that's already higher than other teams' ceilings. Let's just talk about Wallace. If she keeps playing like this, she's going to be one of the best forwards in the Big Ten. 7 for 10 shooting, confident from the line, a commanding presence. She's got that I'm the best player on the floor demeanor. And she's backing it up every single night. And Dolan, she's just a winner. Every coach's dreams of having a player like her. She can shoot, she can distribute, she defends, and she's got poise. 5 assists, 3 steals. Again, just an all-around performance. And these two are the emotional core of this team. And their chemistry is only going to get stronger. Now, Illinois heads out west, their first real road test of the season. They're going to be playing Oregon State on Friday night. I believe it's 8 p.m. Central on ESPN+. The Beavers won their opener 86-45 over Corbin, and they'll be looking for revenge because Illinois smoked them last year in Champaign 85-66. This time, it's on the road, and it's going to be a good measuring stick. How does this young team handle travel, pressure, and a Power 5 opponent in their own gym? That's what we'll find out. If you're Shauna Green, this is exactly the kind of win you love to see early in the year. Not pretty, not smooth, but tough, composed, and earned. Because this team's ceiling, it's as high as these freshmen develop. But the floor is raised by Wallace and Dolan. Illinois women's basketball is quietly dangerous. They've got the scoring, the size, the leadership to compete with anyone on their schedule. And now they've got early proof that they can close games even when momentum swings the other way. So if you're not paying attention yet, it's time to start. Because this team, they're learning how to win. And that's usually the first step towards doing something special. I hope you're giving this Illini women's basketball team a chance. It's nice to see a brand new, fresh restart of a program that you know is going to reach really, really high levels. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a single game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, whether your team's winning or losing. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head on over to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And welcome back. To wrap up today's episode, I wanted to talk about a news story that is being talked about all over the college football landscape. We talk about big money, but there's also Big Ten money. And right now, the Big Ten Conference is weighing one of the most ambitious and controversial and flat out massive financial moves we've ever seen in college athletics. It proposed $2.4 billion capital investment deal that could reshape how conferences do business and potentially create a serious divide inside the Big Ten itself. Here's what's on the table. The Big Ten is currently considering a 20-year, $2.4 billion partnership with a California-based pension fund, UC Investments. In exchange for that $2.4 billion upfront, UC Investments would get about a 10% stake in a new business arm called Big Ten Enterprises. That money would be distributed across all the league schools, roughly $135 million per program, depending on size and brand power. But there's a catch. Several, actually. To finalize the deal, the schools would have to extend the league's grant of rights agreement by another 10 years, pushing it out to 2046. That's the document that basically binds members together, the legal glue that prevents them from leaving the conference without forfeiting all of their media rights. So this is not just a cash grab, it's a long-term marriage extension. And some schools aren't ready to say, I do. The biggest wrinkle here, Michigan and USC are not on board. Both schools have expressed serious concerns about the deal, and the rest of the Big Ten may move forward without them. League officials have floated a November 21st vote to approve the plan, even if those two programs don't sign on. That's unprecedented. A major conference potentially striking a 20-year financial agreement without unanimous participation. Michigan's trustees have been vocal, calling this deal a payday loan and a bailout for financially strained schools. They see it as unnecessary and risky, like cashing in future stability for short-term relief. USC side has been quieter, but no less skeptical. Trojans athletic director Jen Cohen and her board repeatedly disliked the uneven revenue model, one that would give more money to Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State than to USC and the rest of the league. And you can understand why that's touchy, especially for a blue blood brand that just joined the conference. So let's talk numbers because they're eye-opening. Under the proposal, Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State would each receive up to $190 million in upfront cash. USC and Oregon would get about $140 to $150 million. The other 13 would land roughly $100 to $110 million each. That's a huge gap. And the new Big Ten Enterprises setup would use a performance-based revenue model, rewarding schools for football and basketball success, similar to the ACC's successive initiative plan. So if you're USC, you're asking, why sign away future leverage to a system where we start behind on day one? Beyond the money, there's also a fight over governance and transparency. Some university board members, not just at Michigan and USC, but also at places like Penn State and Maryland, are frustrated that they've seen only informational presentations instead of detailed documents. The American Council of Trustees and Alumni, ACTA, even stepped in, calling the process preposterous and warning that boards are being sidelined in a decision that impacts schools for decades. They're arguing that the trustees have a fiduciary duty to review this kind of deal, and that pushing it through too quickly could be reckless. Meanwhile, Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti is trying to thread the needle, balancing the league's desire for long-term stability with the need to keep every major brand happy. That's getting tougher by the day. So what happens next? If the Big Ten votes in favor on November 21st, the deal would effectively move forward with 16 schools. Michigan and USC would reportedly have a grace period of up to 6 months to join later if they want to secure their share of the capital. But if they don't, they could lose out on hundreds of millions in new money and potentially strain their standing in the conference once the current grant of rights expires in 2036. That's the kind of high-stakes brinkmanship we've never seen before in college sports. The Big Ten could be blazing a new trail, privatizing part of its operation, locking in long-term funding, and for the first time, inviting outside investors into the business of college athletics. It's a bold, risky, billion-dollar experiment, one that could either solidify the Big Ten's dominance for decades or blow up into a governance nightmare. You can see why some schools are excited. Average of $135 million up front, stability through 2046, and a new business engine that could compete with the NFL in media scale. But you can also see why others are spooked. Loss of control, private equity influence, and unequal power dynamics that could reshape the league from the inside out. Either way, this is a story to watch over the next couple weeks, because if the Big Ten pulls this off, college athletics will never look the same again. That's going to just about wrap it up for today's episode of Locked On Illini. I'm going to have player grades up for you maybe later on Monday or early Tuesday. I'm not sure. I'm still putting my notes down on paper from the Florida Gulf Coast game, because guess what? Tuesday evening, Texas Tech is coming to the State Farm Center, which should be one of the best matchups of the season. Texas Tech is a top 10 team coming into the State Farm Center. It's a game that we'll cover live right here on the show immediately after the game. So, of course, I say this all the time, but make sure you're subscribed to the channel and make sure you're in the Talk Illini Discord. Today, we're talking about Brett Bielema and who the next quarterback is going to be. There's some words out there that Illinois is going to be very aggressive in trying to bring in a transfer quarterback. What could some of those names be? Join the Talk Illini Discord, and you can find out. Okay, that's going to wrap it up for me today. Again, a lot of Illini content coming for you this week. We're going to be talking football again. Maryland on Saturday. I believe it's a 14.5-point spread in Illinois' favor. We'll talk about that and more right here on Locked On Illini. Until next time, ILL. Love you guys.